Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Joey, the Veiled Cottage Witch, and we're in another episode of my magical plant series. I am a day late, but that is because yesterday was a very bad day for one of my seizure migraines. So I am here on a Tuesday, better late than never. So I'm here to talk about this caged beast here. There's a reason why it's caged. It's uncaged today, just to show you. We had it caged because it is nettle. Now, it is not dead nettle. Dead nettle is harmless to the touch, but this is stinging nettle. And I can tell you right now, I was pulling some peppermint out of the patch today, and I got a little stinger right here. So when I tell you it's caged for a reason, trust me on this. So it has these little stingers, and the only place you can touch it without it being stung is right at the very tip, like I just did. Otherwise, you get stung. And these, it's not like a bee sting or an ant sting or a wasp sting. It's not anything severe like that, but it is annoying. And it will make you go ouch, just kind of step back. It's kind of brutal. And that is just part of its nature. It says step back is what it says. So as you probably guessed, before I tell you anything about what the herb is about, it is very protective. This is a guardian herb. So yeah, it tells you to back off, mister. Don't touch me. And what I love so much about nettle is that I can use it as an ally. I can have it as an ally for protection. When I first read one of my favorite authors, and if you've watched this channel, you know who I'm talking about, Corinne Boyer. One of the pages in her book had stinging nettles above her cottage door. And the first thing I did when I got my cottage is I got a bunch of nettle after it had already grown very, very tall at this point. And I took some and bundled it up with gloves, mind you, with gloves. And I put it up above and I said, that's my protection ward. And it was there until I got, until last year when I got it insulated. So it's very much a protective herb. So you'll see it used in all kinds of protection spells and whatnot. So before I get ahead of myself, let's go ahead and talk about the Latin name, folk names, and we'll go ahead and do as we usually do. So nettle is Ortica dioica is its Latin name. So it's folk names. I had so much fun with this. The folk names: Devil's Plaything, Hokey Pokey, for damn good reason, Hokey Pokey, Ginny Nettle, Indian Spinach, Burn Nettle, and Fireweed. The element is fire. The gender is masculine. The planet is Mars, and the day is Tuesday, which is perfect because today is Tuesday. So the folklore. So the plant's Latin name comes from the word urere, which means to burn. So that makes a whole lot of sense because it does. It stings and burns. My finger is, itchy right now, but it did burn for a minute. So in ancient Irish folklore, Nettles were thought to protect against sorcery and were considered a shelter for elves. So I guess it doesn't sting elves? I guess. And in Nordic lore, nettles were sacred to Thor and were thought to guard against lightning. And in many cultures, nettles were considered a magical bridge between life and death. In indigenous folklore, nettles were associated with coyotes and were thought to be the trickster of the plant world. I love that. It's like, oh, how pretty. And you can just stroke it and be like, ah, yeah, pet me, aren't I cute? And no, not so much. So I kind of love that. In the past, people would consume nettles to cleanse their blood and tone up their system. When we get to the medicinal properties, that still holds true. An old saying was, a pot of nettles in May is health for a year and a day. Love that. In ancient China and Northern Europe, nettle fabric was used as a sacred burial cloth. Stinging nettle is associated with protection and the importance of creating boundaries. I believe it 100%. Absolutely. Very much so. It can still create boundaries today. If you put in your property a hedge of stinging nettles, I guarantee it will stop a burglar. At least, if they're trying to climb over it. Very much so. Its stinging defense mechanism is thought to teach people to respect boundaries. I bet it does. I bet it does. They will think twice about trying to break into your yard. Absolutely. Native Americans used nettles as a food source, cooking them like other green vegetables or using them in soups and teas. I do that too. They also used the fibers to make rope. In Wales, they would place a handful of nettles under a sick person's pillow. The next day, green leaves indicated a recovery, while brown leaves meant the patient would die. So that's kind of morbid, but I get it, right? I mean, how bad the nettles would look would indicate how sick the patient was. So I get that. Dreaming of being stung by nettles meant you would be vexed and disappointed. If you dreamt of gathering nettles, it meant someone thought well of you. If you were married and had such dreams, then it meant you'd have harmony among your family. So I like those superstitions. Those are kind of cool. In the Victorian language of flowers, nettles meant slander. It's unclear if that's slander about you or by you, but the recipient would hopefully have the context to understand it. So it's like you would know whether it was you were the slanderer or you were being slandered against. You would know. Which I understand because I read tarot, and there's a thief card and a bully card in tarot. If you know, you know. The 5 of swords is the bully card, and the 7 of swords is the thievery card. And you would know if you are the bully or you are being bullied, or if you are the thief and you are being robbed. So if you know, you know. You know? Exactly. We understand. In ancient times, people called the nettle plant devil's apron because they believed Satan protect himself with the plant. Take that as you will. So on to the magical properties. So this is, I love the lore because the lore leaves little hints for us for the magical and medicinal properties. These are little, the lore are little Easter eggs, right? That let us know, and I know I say this ad nauseum for you guys. I always say it. I'm going to keep saying it. The lore lets us know how to use it, right? So the magical properties: to remove a curse and send it back, stuff a poppet or sachet with nettle and bury it off your property, preferably at a crossroads. Sprinkle nettle around the house, dried, to keep negativity out, negative energy out. Thrown into a fire, dried, obviously, to avert danger, or held in the hand to ward off ghosts. Carry it with yarrow. We'll be talking about yarrow too on this little adventure, to dispel fear, and worn as an amulet to keep negativity away from you. There is a wonderful meditation by Steve Nobel. If you go to Steve Nobel, I'm not quite sure. If you go to Steve Nobel or Nobel, Nobel, he has a lovely meditation that he includes. It's a protection meditation that he includes nettle in the visualization. And it's one of my favorite protection meditation. I just love it. So if you're interested in that, if that piques your interest, please go look it up. Just go to the search bar. My favorite thing in the world, the YouTube search bar, Steve Nobel, Nobel, nettle, and just hit search and you'll find it. It is lovely, and it's just, it makes you feel really, really protected, and not at all prickly. The nettle is around you, but you don't feel it. It's wonderful. Okay, now I have to go back where I was. Oh yes, okay. A pot of freshly cut nettles placed beneath a sick bed will aid in the person's recovery. So we're not divining whether or not the person's going to get sicker or die or get better. It's just used to aid in the recovery. So I like that change in the lore there. Nettle can also be used as a lust-inducing herb. Not really sure where that comes from. And I've said that quite a few times in this little adventure. I'm not quite sure where the lust-inducing comes from. Possibly through the fertility and how abundantly it grows. Perhaps. Now, Mexican spiritualists use it in purification baths because it is more carnivorous than other herbs, therefore working more effectively. More carnivorous. I guess that means it's biting, like it's like almost like the Venus flytrap. But I don't know. I'm guessing that, I mean, it's in quotation, more carnivorous. So I'm guessing that they just kind of use that term, meaning stinging, carnivorous, I guess. I just deliver the news, you guys. I don't analyze it. Take it with a grain of salt, right? Okay, medicinal properties. So it is good for allergies, inflammation, gout, arthritis, chronic myalgia, anemia, urinary tract health, muscle and joint health. It helps lower blood pressure, helps control blood sugar, acts as a daily nutrient and a liver tonic. So it has a lot of medicinal properties personal to me. So I use nettle quite a lot. So let's talk about my personal uses. I have an autumn immunity tea that I make. I don't sell it. I'll show you some things that I do sell, but I do not sell it, but I do offer it. If you come and have a reading with me, I do make it in the autumn. It has dried apple slices, allspice, nettle, cinnamon stick, and I serve it with my warm and cozy honey, which is cinnamon and ginger. It tastes like apple pie. And it has that nettle in it, which is a natural immune booster. It's good for allergies. I have autumn allergies. And it's like that liver tonic. So it's, you know, that nutrient and inflammation that we all get when the weather changes. It's just a lovely autumn wellness tea. And then when I have a urinary tract infection, which I do get quite often, especially when I do not hydrate. I live in the desert and I don't always hydrate, especially if I drink. I usually don't drink heavily. I will usually drink wine or mead, especially at a Sabbath. And sometimes I forget to drink water when I do so. So I have made a urinary tract infection tea, which has horsetail, nettle, dandelion leaf, and dried cranberries in it. I also have a kidney cleanse tea, which has juniper berries, parsley, nettle, burdock root, horsetail, hibiscus, golden seal, and barberry root in it. It's kind of bitter because that parsley I don't like, but I will drink it to feel better. But that nettle in there it's very nettle heavy, so which I think tastes pretty good. And speaking of tastes, we talked about how Native Americans will use it as food source. So do we. In my family, we do not buy spinach anymore. If we want to make a pasta dish, which we do very often, like fettuccine alfredo, then we will use nettle instead of spinach. So how we do this is we will boil it. Of course, we'll wash it first, obviously. We wash it. Then we boil it for a few moments. I think it's like 4 minutes. And then we put it in an ice bath. Doing that will kill these stingers. So you boil it and then you ice bath it, and then you can just take the leaves off without having to wear gloves anymore. So after the ice bath, you can just take the leaves off so easily, and then we freeze it, and then when we're ready to put it in a pasta dish, it's ready to go right into our sauce. And as we heat the sauce, it thaws, and boom, we have our spinach Alfredo. It is so delicious. We cannot tell the difference between spinach and nettle. It has so much protein. It has so much iron. It's a superfood. It is so good and good for you. And we just freeze it in these little bags, like single serve bags. And when it grows plentiful in the spring and summer, we keep it and just put it in the freezer for these single size bags, and we don't have to buy spinach anymore. It's fabulous. So if there's a dish that you like that has spinach in it, give it a try. It's a little extra work, but like saves you so much money, and it's food that you grow. Wonderful. Wonderful kitchen witchery right there. Okay, so as far as using it in things that I sell on my website, by the way, speaking of my website, I'm wearing one of my hoodies today. It says The Veiled Cottage Witch here. And then on the back, it says Folk Witch. So we got these for the Bisbee Saturday Market. Yeah, we love them. My wife, hers says ADHD Witch. So we love our little hoodies. Yeah, had to talk about the hoodie. It's fairly cold outside, so I'm like, well, I get to show off my hoodie today. All right, on we go with my products. This is my #1 selling tea blend. It is called Fuck Off Pain, and of course I don't actually spell the F word, but really that's what it is. It's Fuck Off Pain, and it has willow bark, eucalyptus, feverfew, allspice, lavender, chamomile, rose hips, and nettle leaf. And let me tell you, this tea, when brewed as a decoction, so this, I would say 30 to 45 minutes, when you let those rose hips and that allspice burst open, it is so good. I had some last night because my shoulders were really sore from the migraine. When I have migraines, when they go away, they settle into my shoulders, which is lovely. Not so much. I always kick it with the Fuck Off Pain. So these are $10 on my website. And then star of the show, my Nettle tincture. This so good for inflammation during the burr months. This goes in my coffee every day in the burr months. Like I said, muscle and joint pain, arthritis, inflammation, love it. Where the Angelica does really good for the sunshine in your cup, this does really good for, like, if you think of it as a massage for your inflammation. This does really good. Plus, if you have any kind of onset of a urinary tract infection, put this in your tea. Absolutely. Yeah, Nettle has a very earthy taste to it. So this is not one that I particularly enjoy to take by itself. So I always like to put it in a tea or a coffee. It's just not my favorite by itself. But I will put it in a tea. And if you put it in this tea, yum, 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 yum. All right. What else do I have? Oh, it's in my uncrossing powder. These are my new bottles for my powder, by the way, because they discontinued my favorite bottles. So you're getting more now. So, hey, it's the way it is. So my uncrossing spell powder. So this is for anything sent your way, like, imagine if there's a target on you. This takes the target off of you. So, uncrossing spell powder has orange peel, nettle, rose, vervain, chamomile, rosemary, eucalyptus, hyssop, and snapdragon. So this takes that target off your back. Uncrossing powder. Protection spell powder. We already know Angelica's in here. Eggshell, rosemary, vervain, nettle, rue, angelica, mugwort, snapdragon, mullein, and eucalyptus. That is good to sprinkle on your porch or around spell work, around your house, just front porch, windowsills, just anywhere where you want protection. Then I have my banishing spell powder. This is really good for any kind of let's say you want to get rid of a bad habit or a bad neighbor, or just any kind of bad juju thrown your way. This is really good for anything like that. It has rue, comfrey, hyssop, mugwort, rose, rosemary, nettle, oregano, and bay. So a lot of my herbs around the garden. So that's your banishing spell powder. Then it's also in my protection sacred incense, with loose incense, with rosemary, rue, vervain, angelica, mullein, nettle, mugwort, sage, eucalyptus, rose, dragon's blood, resin, sugar, with clary sage, pine, and rosemary essential oils. This stuff smells heavenly when you burn it. I like to burn this when I am doing workings that I really kind of want to put like an invisibility cloak around me. I really don't want people knowing what I'm doing. This is what I burn, or any kind of protection workings that I'm doing whatsoever. Now, as far as my oils, my deity oils and my zodiac oils are on sale on my website for buy one, get one 50% off. So I have Nettle in my Persephone oil, the Morrigan oil, my Danu oil, and my Odin oil. So if you're interested in any of those deities, they are buy one, get one 50% off. And then also I had to put it in my Scorpio oil. I mean, for obvious reasons. So those are also buy one, get one 50% off on my website. So speaking of my website, you can get free shipping. You go to theveiledcottagewitch.com and you receive free shipping with the code word veiled, all caps, VEILED. And then the code word for the buy one, get one 50% off, I believe is BOGO50. But you can always just shoot me a message and I will figure that out for you at checkout. So just send me a message if that code doesn't work for you. So don't worry about that. So that is stinging nettle. Yes, we did have to cage it because the cats decided to rub on it. And poor little Diego, she got some in her ears. Poor thing. We had to kind of take the tweezers and get them out for her. And then we have a couple of girls, little ones that come to the coven. And so we thought it would be a good idea to go ahead and cage it. And we also know when it gets out of the cage, when it's time to trim it. So yeah, it is a caged beast now. So how do you use nettle in your practice? Or are you afraid to use it? Is it just a bothersome weed for you? Let's get the conversation started in the comments down below. I'd really like to know how you use it. What benefits do you find with nettle, and how do you use it magically? Let's get this conversation started. Otherwise, that's all I have for you. Next week, we'll talk about mint. This is the fields of mint. So we'll be talking a little bit about all 4 kinds of mint that we're growing here. So that's all I have for you today. So for now, live your best life and live for yourself. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.